What's up, all of my real estate peeps? This is Brian Lucier of the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, Golden Nuggets. And on the Golden Nuggets, we'll take a tip, tactic, or technique, and we'll unpack it and explain it to you that maybe you can use it for your operations to enhance and increase the performance of your rental property systems. So this one is a little touchy. We're going to unpack animals versus pets. Now, pets is just your normal puppy, cat, goldfish, iguana, turtle, whatever that a family may want to bring in to the unit as a pet. You know, something warm and cuddly or cold and reptilian that the family enjoys to just have it around and make things a little bit more warm and cozy for them. That's fine. Pets are pets. Now, before I get into animals, let's talk about pets for a second. If you are renting units and you do allow pets, you're going to open up your market to a lot more of potential renters, because people with dogs and cats and turtles and lizards and whatever the animal may be as a pet, find it difficult at times if there is a no pet policy at the property. And most of our properties, our landlords want us to have no pet policies. So if you consider maybe allowing a small dog or a cat or whatever pet, you can do that. You'll open up your market to more potential renters, and you can charge a pet rent or pet fee. Now, this should be something done after you sign a rental agreement if they're going to have a pet fee, because some states, Massachusetts, probably frowns upon charging pet rent as part of the lease. However, you can do it as an addendum, and you should be okay with that. So that's pets. And you can either say yes pets, no pets, but if you say yes pets, you'll open up to more of a market. If you say no pets, that's it, no pets. Now, before we transition into animals, whatever policy you're going to stand on, that's your policy, period. And you can't change it, because if tenant A comes in with a cat and you say no pets, no pets. But then if tenant B comes in with a cat and for whatever reason you say, well, maybe just this one time, now you have an issue because you have broken your own policy. You've said yes to one and no to another. Now you could be getting a letter from the Massachusetts Council Against Discrimination, MCAD, because you discriminated for that pet. Now, pets and animals are not part of the class that you can discriminate, but it's still a slippery slope, and just make a policy and stick to it. Now, let's transition over into animals. Animals are unique and a growing source of, I don't want to say frustration, but nobody really knows where to go with this. You have your service animal, and I believe I have some notes right over here. Service animals are now, dogs are only animals considered service animals. This could be a seeing eye dog. It could be a dog for hearing or something like that. Maybe it will react in a certain way. I've also seen a huge Great Dane to support someone for mobility who had cerebral palsy. So that's understandable, okay? Now, before we talk about animals as a whole, let's finish going through the groups. So service animals are service animals. They've been around a long time. The two new breeds that have come into play are emotional support animals and companionship animals. Companionship animals are borderline pets. You may have that grandma that just wants to have something furry to keep her company if she lives alone, and that's fine. Now, Does she need to go get a doctor's note to have a companion animal? Probably not. That's where it transitions into an emotional support animal. And this is where the problem starts. Emotional support animals is a can of worms that I don't want to open, but let's go there. So, emotional support is usually triggered by some anxiety or PSD or situation. Like, let's take a veteran. If a veteran has PSD all day long, that would be an acceptable and understandable emotional support animal. You know, if they get anxious with loud noises, having that dog to keep them calm or animal to keep them calm. And unfortunately, I think a small horse fits into that. Now, the small horses tend to come into play. Children with autism work well with small horses. However, there needs to be a reasonable situation where the horse would not be living in a third-story apartment building. That's not reasonable. The horse would need to live in a stable, on a barn, or in a farm, something like that. So, emotional support. The problem is you can go online, fill out a form, and boom, you now have an emotional support animal. And this works well for people who want to travel. The airlines are cracking down on this now. If you have an emotional support animal, it's getting harder and harder to pass that litmus test. Now, rentals, we just had a call with a client, and I'll give you the 30,000 foot. The tenant moved in with a emotional support animal, which was a pit bull. Pit bull was not trained. It was barking all day. It was aggressive. And then we found out he had two. Wonderful. So now we have two aggressive dogs in the building that he has paperwork for, and now my hands are tied. He has tenancy. He has a service animal. And if I evict him because he has a service animal, I am getting a letter from Massachusetts Council Against Discrimination. This is not fun, and it's not easy to figure out. It's not easy to figure out. So emotional support animals, they do exist. In the real world, the PSD, autism, anxiety, emotional distress orders, all these things are real things. But then you have people who are playing the game, getting that document, submitting it with their rental application. So what can you do? That is a great question. I'm looking right over here to my other screen, and there is a website. When we got off the call with that client, remember when I said have a policy and stick to it and that's it? Our policy now, if someone wants to come into our rental properties with an animal, emotional support, or companionship, we are going to have them screen their own animal. Because I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand the laws. They change every day. There's case court law that who knows what's going on. But I don't want to be the one trying to figure all that out, as well as run a business and keep my teams running and all the other stuff I need to do on a day-to-day basis. But it does exist. So I'm looking at a website over here called petscreening.com. We've opened up an account, and now if somebody wants to come into one of our rentals and they have that piece of paper, we're going to say, great. Mr. Tenant, Miss Tenant, we will accept your service animal. We will accept your emotional support animal. We will accept your companionship animal. First, you go and screen your own pet. Now we're being fair and equitable to every request for an animal. Pets are different. Animals are an extension of that tenant. I mentioned to my client, like a seeing eye dog is like an extra arm or a set of eyes for the tenant. So you can't charge pet rent for something that the tenant needs to be able to function. It's like charging someone for having feet. You can't do that. A pet is different. An animal is exclusive. That's why we're trying to make this differentiation here. So I'm going to scroll down a little on this website. Managing your pet and animal policies across your portfolio. This is a really good site. Now here's the good stuff, right? The liability protection, and I'm just going to read this to you. Their proprietary screening platform adds an extra layer of liability protection by having a standardized process when dealing with household pets and assistance animals. It gets better. Animal accommodation requests, our assistance animal review team is managed by their legal team. Okay, so they have lawyers and attorneys who are actually right on the cusp of the avant-garde of knowing what's going on with service animals and assistance animals. So I would much rather put it in the hands of the attorneys who understand the HUD and the Fair Housing Acts and all that stuff, what I can and what I can't ask, who knows, right? So, and then managing those pets, they get pretty cute. They call it a FIDO score instead of a FICO score. But we do, when we do our screening, we do have some things that we will ask. And again, our policy, we have to do it the same way every time. I'll just give you our secret sauce here. Here we go. How many animals do you have that you want in the rental property? Fair question. I haven't broken any laws. Please list all types, breeds, weight, and age. So far, so good. Fair question. The number of pets, the type of pets, the breed of pets, the weight of pets, and the age of pets. Age discrimination does not apply to animals or pets. Now, here's where we start getting a little tricky. What type of animal are you requesting to have? An emotional support animal, a companionship animal, a service animal, or a family pet? All requests for animals require the following. Now, here's where it gets a little gray, and here's where I lose sleep at night, because the laws change, and what I may be able to ask today, I may not be able to ask tomorrow. That's why I want to use a third party for the liability of doing pet and animal screening. But does the ESA, SA, or CA have required paperwork? Service animal, you can ask, okay? But for an emotional support animal or a companionship animal, they're going to produce that document that the doctor says that Mary Jane needs this pet iguana because it calms her down. Great. Now, if it's an animal, a pet or a cat, I need to see confirmed rabies shots. I don't care what type of dog it is. I need to see that because of the liability of putting a dog in a building. I don't care if it's a pet or an animal, renter's insurance to indemnify myself or the landlord from pet damage. If Fido wants to chew up the stairs, that's going to come out of the security deposit because that is not normal wear and tear. Animal registration. How many people overlook this? Okay, we'll let you have your puppy in. However, they never registered it with the city or town. Remember, they have to have that collar with that dog tag. If Fido gets lost, it's going to be registered with the city or the municipalities. We need that information. And if that needs to be updated, that's going to be updated with the city or town dog license, right? And then any training documentation. Probably not going to ask for that because training would be a service animal, and I don't think I'm allowed to ask what service does the pet perform. Maybe I am, maybe I can't, but now we're getting into that slippery slope that I just don't want to go there. That's kind of dangerous for me, so I want to leave that one alone, okay? So what's the takeaway on this? Pets and animals can cause damage. Serious damage. So this gentleman that had these two pit bulls, he was in a 1-year lease, and A couple months in, the dog started barking. We started getting complaints. We started rolling our eyes because we knew we were already in the thick of it. He had his paperwork. It checked out as far as we could tell. But now, a year later down the road, it has forced us to up our game, increase our diligence, and now we use a third party. Why a third party? Okay, if Bel Air or any management company is doing the screening and we get it wrong, we are 100% liable. Now, if the tenant, if we say, Mr. Tenant, great, you want to come in with a pit bull, go to this website, fill out all the paperwork, come back to us with your FIDO score. If it checks out, fine, we'll rent you. Now, they know if they've pulled a bogus or fraudulent emotional support document, it's not going to pass. So we're probably not going to hear from them again. However, if it's that veteran or whatever, they're going to go through this. They're going to hopefully respect that we're doing this correctly to protect our residents from people who are not legit. They'll go through all this. They will have a good FIDO score because all that stuff will be checked out. We won't be seeing it. Their legal team will be seeing it. If that all works out, now their legal team has said yes or no. So if it ever came down to it, I'm waving a report from pet screening said, well, your report said this was not verifiable, that it was a service animal or a emotional support or companionship animal. We weren't able to verify that. So based on that, we're going to not allow the animal into the rental based on the information from the report that you provided us. I like the way that sounds. And if it does check out, absolutely. Come on in. Still need the dog tag. We still need the renter's insurance. You still need to be registered with the town and have that permit and all that stuff. And then the rabies shot, of course. And then we can get that puppy rolling. Couldn't help myself. We'll get that puppy in gear. So I hope that helps. I know it's kind of muddy, but you can always Google emotional support or companionship animals in the state that you're in and see if there's any extra landmines or things that you may need to consider. So there it is, ladies and gents. We have another golden nugget. To pet or not to pet? To animal or not to animal? That is the question. So pets versus animals that are emotional support, service animals, companionship animals. It's not just I've got a puppy and I want a pet anymore. So hopefully this has been helpful. Again, that website is petscreening.com. And if you look around, you might find a few others as well. And I hope this has been helpful for you in your business operations for your rental properties. This is Brian Lucier from the Why Not Real Estate Podcast, Golden Nuggets. We have another one in the books, and we're signing off. We'll see you on the next one.